Hey, welcome to Simplified Growth. Okay, so you've gone through the assessment and we know what your objectives are and we know your business type. And I want to welcome you and I want to tell you what to expect during our work together. And that is this: three things: simple, simple, simple. And the reason why isn't because I think that you're unintelligent, it's because I know from 20 years plus of experience that simple is good. And simple is the cure for overwhelm. And when you're not overwhelmed, you can create and you can make more money. So that's why we're going to keep everything super simple so you can actually get results, which is cool. And speaking of keeping things simple, I want to start by simplifying the entire world of internet business, regardless of what it is you're selling, right? So when it comes to really business in general, there are only two major things that we do. Number one, we make promises. Number two, we keep them. Now, of course, if you wanted to call in an MBA or something, that person would say, well, what about management and all of that kind of stuff? But you didn't come to me for management. You came to me for growth, and you wanted to keep it simple. So in terms of growing your business, there are only two things you do: make promises and keep them. And the keeping them part, well, that's pretty simple. That's just where you give people what they bought, so that's kind of relatively not going to be that big of a deal. And under the make promises category, well, that's where basically you sell stuff, right? And in order to sell stuff, you need to make offers. And in order to make offers, you need to have a list of people to make those offers to, and or an audience. Sometimes I'll use these words interchangeably, by the way. A list and an audience could be an email list and or a group of people that pay attention to you in any platform these days. The internet's growing so fast that in many cases, a social platform can actually outperform an email list. So regardless, people, right? And now we got to have a sales process. And really, these are the main things: sell stuff, make offers, build a list, build an audience, and have a sales process. 5 things which sort of make up this entire category of making promises. All right. So it's not really a lot of stuff. We basically make offers. Actually, let me just walk you through it, right? Because I want to simplify it even more. So if you were to take that list of 5 things that I just gave you in order of importance, there's really just 3. And that's number 1, your list or your audience, call it whichever one you want. And number 2, this is of secondary importance, your offer. That's the stuff you're selling. And number 3 is your sales process. All right. And I know it might sound crazy, but really, the biggest one here is the who you're actually making your offer to. And then your sales process, well, it's important, but let me illustrate. Let's say you and I went into the bottled water business, all right? And for whatever reason, we decided that we wanted to sell the worst water in the world. We wanted to go down to the, go out into the recycling plant and get a whole bunch of previously used plastic bottles and then kind of wash them out a little bit and then just fill them up with water from the hose. And that's the thing that we're offering. All right. So that's our bottled water company together. Not necessarily the best offer. And let's say that we became, for whatever reason, particularly disagreeable people, and our sales process was a big sign that says, which one of you knuckleheads want some crappy water, right? Well, in most cases, we would be out of business pretty damn fast. However, if we were making this offer to a group of people that had just run an ultra marathon through Death Valley, we'd probably sell out of the water because these guys would be really, really freaking thirsty. They'd be like, you know what? I don't care. I just ran a marathon or an ultra marathon through Death Valley. And I don't care if this water came from a garden hose and it's in a recycled old form, previously used water bottle. I'm going to drink it anyway. That's because we're selling to the right people. So this is really important. And then if you think about it, you break it down, it's just really 3 things. You get a group of people, you show them an offer, and then in doing so, you say, hey, go into this sales process if you want to get this offer. All right. And I'll dive deeper into the word sales process here because it can sound intimidating, but it's really not. All right. So if you really think about it, we got 2 categories that make online business work: make promises and keep them. And in the making promises thing, I gave you a list of 5 things, but in reality, you just got these 3: who you're selling stuff to, the thing you're selling, and the way you're selling it. right? So let's talk about these folks. The question of, well, who should I be selling stuff to? And, it's really important to examine this regardless of experience level or your business type. Doesn't really matter. It's always like going to come down to this. And here's how to find out who the right people are. Number one, people who already buy stuff like yours. Now, that can mean an existing group of customers. It could be people who have demonstrably shown interested in stuff like yours, right? So those, like, let's say we're in the diet business, and people are like literally on social media, for example, they're clicking that one of their interests is diet and fitness. Well, that's pretty low-hanging fruit, pretty obvious. People who follow competing or similar brands to you. And by the way, if you're just an individual like me, you should still consider yourself a brand. So that's a good one. So for example, Dan Sullivan is a similar brand to me, kind of competing, but not really. But the folks who like his stuff probably would like my stuff too, right? So that's another good example of the right people to be going after. And then people who are actively searching for stuff like yours, in like the search engines, etc. And finally, people who behaviorally demonstrate interest. And this is, once again, like all of this stuff I'm sharing with you right now is just basic fundamental stuff that is going to be true no matter what the business model or business type. So we really know now that there are two things that make business work: make promises, keep them. Keeping them is pretty simple. The making promises, it's really made up of three big pillars there: your audience, your offer, and your sales process. And then we know, and now in terms of audience, well, we really got kind of 5 options here. Like this is just about covers every possible way of finding an audience of people that are going to be the best ones to target. So now let's talk about the offer, the stuff to sell. Okay. Now you might already have this dialed in, but here's the thing about entrepreneurs. We're really good at screwing this up, especially when it starts working. So even if you've already got this dialed in, it's good to revisit it, because your brain as an entrepreneur likes to give yourself challenges so it doesn't get bored. So always remember this: the right thing to offer is, number one, more of what they're already buying, period. Hands down, the very best offer you could ever make to anybody. So if we're in a room of people that just historically buy the ever-living crap out of golf equipment, then the best thing to sell is golf equipment. There's absolutely there's really no way to debate that one. The other thing is to focus on what they say that they want, right? So if you got a whole bunch of people and they're like, man, we really want some hamburgers, probably pretty smart to go, hey guys, here's some hamburgers. I know it's basic, but I'm telling you, 20 years in this business, I've seen even like 8-figure businesses go off the rails because they got the wrong offer, because they lost track of these two fundamental things. And one thing, there's actually 2 things that I want to point out to you. First is the use twice, and both bullet points even, of the word they. Notice that none of this has anything to do with us. Everything is about the audience, what they are already buying or what they say they want. And final word here to emphasize is the word want, right? We always want to give people what they want versus what they need. Like, you would have a really, really hard time selling my daughter, Katya, some broccoli. Wouldn't matter how good the broccoli was. Wouldn't matter, the price. She's 5, by the way. She ain't gonna buy it. She don't want no broccoli. She needs broccoli. She don't want no broccoli. She wants cookies. Now you could sell a lot of cookies to Katya because she wants them, right? So what they're already buying, what they say they want, and what they clearly want by demonstration, right? So that's really all we should ever focus on selling. And it's important because if you go down the world of need, you could end up being in need of a cash infusion because you could lose a lot of money. So all this stuff is really pretty simple, right? This is where people can start to go off the rails. And that's why I've taken the time just to sort of make this preliminary quick video overview for you, because this is like a lifetime of focus right here. You and I together should commit to each other right now that we will never really deviate from what we're talking about here. That, hey, we make promises, we keep them. We got list, offer, and sales process, and that's it. And we only want to sell people what they want, right? So now let's talk about the sales process. Well, there's really only two types of sales processes we should ever consider, regardless of the type of business. Number one, what's already working for you. Now, this is funny. Okay. So I lead something called the private client group. It's 40 grand a year. Overwhelming majority of the clients, 7 figures plus, right? Can't tell you how many times a client will come in with a perfectly good sales process and then just want to change it for no good reason at all other than they're tired of it. Happens all the time, right? If you don't already have one that's working, instead of like beating your head against the wall, it's really simple just to go and see what your competitors are doing and then model their process. Now, I'm not saying copy their marketing, copy their products or whatever, but a sales process is totally different. In fact, let me break it down for you. Let's see. Now, the type here is going to get a little bit smaller on the screen, all right? I apologize for that, but I wanted all of this stuff on one screen. A sales process has a maximum of 3 moving parts, okay? That's it. There's only 3 moving parts maximum to any sales process. Doesn't matter. And I'm telling you this to protect you from future overwhelm, because overwhelm is the number one thing that's going to hurt you, by the way. So here's the deal. You got a web page, clearly, right? Well, you know, there's really only 5 types of web pages, and I'm kind of double counting one. I'll explain. First of all, there's an opt-in page if you even need to generate leads. So you got that. Your process might not need opt-in, by the way. But if you do, there's an opt-in page. Then there's a content page. A content page could be an article. It could be a video. It could be the thing they opted in for. You know, there's a web page with content on it. Nothing too hard about that. Then you got a sales page. That could be an e-com sales page, you know, or it could be a video sales letter or a long form sales letter. Doesn't matter. Regardless of what type of page it is, it's just going to be words, pictures, and video or a combination thereof. That's it. And then you've got an order page, right? And finally, you have a confirmation page. And really, a confirmation page is kind of the same thing as a content page. It's a page that says, hey, thanks for your order. Here's what to expect. And that's it, right? So only 5 possibilities here of web pages, regardless of what type of sales process you have. Only 5 possibilities. You might not even need all 5, okay? So that's part 1 of your 3 moving parts. The second part is email, all right? And here's what's really cool. Email, there's really only 3 different types of emails that you've got, period. Doesn't matter what the sales process is. The first one is called a click sequence. That's where you go to your list or your prospect and you say, hey, go look at this. Pretty simple. You're just trying to get them to go click on something. For example, hey, I created a webinar for you and it's all about XYZ. Go here to check it out. It's just a click sequence. That's all, right? Or, hey, I just put up this blog post about XYZ. Go here to read it. That's it. So it's kind of like your friendly, like really friendly email sequence or friendly email version of someone's grandmother going, hey, I made some cookies. You want one? Really, really basic, right? Super low pressure, super friendly. Now, your second type of email sequence is an offer sequence. That's like, hey, I got this thing. You should go get it, right? That's where you try to sell somebody stuff. And this is either like an announcement of a new product or offer, or you're putting someone in a deadline, right? Going, hey, you better hurry up and go get this thing. Either way, it's just an offer sequence telling someone to go buy something. And the third one is really simple. This is called a courtesy sequence. And this is, for example, if someone buys something from you, it's like a receipt. You know, or if someone registers for a webinar, or maybe they've scheduled a call with your office or whatever, it's a reminder sequence, a confirmation, if you will. That's it, right? And so this one, usually like there's two or three emails here max. So these are your only possible types of emails that we're going to have, period, right? So now we're really starting to simplify the whole universe of selling stuff using the internet. And our final thing is a human component. And not all sales processes have this, right? If you're e-com or just selling info products or whatever, then you don't even have this part. But if you're a professional service provider, a coach or consultant or something like that, then you might have a human part. And that's where someone does a sales call or a consultation or something like that. That's it. All this stuff makes up the entirety of selling things on the internet, period. So to recap it all, we only have 2 categories of activity. Make promises, keep promises. Under the make promises things, we really only have like 3 really big deal things. We got the list/audience. That's who you're making promises to. You got the promise itself, which is your offer, and then you got a sales process. That's the way of selling it. And then when you dig into the sales process, well, there's really only 3 moving parts. And when we break them down into each little component there, we can see there's not a whole lot to it. And the reason I've given you this now is because in our next video, I'm going to ask you to kind of go a little bit farther into the future than you might be expecting. And you're probably going to be setting some big goals. And your brain might be saying, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Now, during our upcoming video, I'm going to show you how to sort of chunk everything down so you can achieve your specific outcome that you're after. And when you're doing it, just keep in mind that all we're ever really dealing with is 2 columns: make promises and keep promises. And in the making promises world, there's just these kind of 3 components right here. So none of this is particularly hard. The number 1 killer is going to be overwhelm and distraction. So if you stay focused and you keep all this stuff in mind and you keep the goals you're about to set in mind as we work together, you're going to get results. Absolutely. So once again, I welcome you to the Simplified Growth Program. That's it for this little intro video here. And now it's time to start officially getting to work. I'll see you in the next video.